So my name is Giles Milburn. I'm from the Madeleine Milburn Literary TV and Film Agency. My role there is managing director and also literary agent. So I'm building a list of largely historical fiction, but also some crime and literary fiction as well. So yeah, my role is really to find new talent in the literary world and sell their work to publishers and make sure they're getting the best possible deal, and then help them in their ongoing writing career. So my day-to-day role at the agency is really consists of two things. As managing director, I'm really involved with the internal management of the agency, making sure that everyone's happy working there and that the authors are getting paid on time, that the contracts are, watertight and all of that. Thinking about how to grow the agency as well. But then also as a literary agent, quite a bit of my time is spent corresponding with authors, responding to their editorial changes, reading submissions, contacting editors, sort of acting as the in-between person between editor and author. So it's sort of, like kind of advising them, comforting them, encouraging them, championing them. My top tips for the perfect submission would be a short 1 or 2 line pitch. We call it an elevator pitch, so that you can really condense down into 2 sentences what your book is about and why people need to read it. I would also strongly recommend that people choose 3 current books, so books that are currently doing well in the market, and compare their book to those books. And also just tell us a little bit about you as a writer, why you are writing this book, why you're the best person to write the book, and any writing experience that you've had in the past, what your ambitions are as a writer. And also I would suggest that you, rather than submitting to hundreds of agents at the same time, I think you should really pick 3 or 4 agents, maybe even just 1 if you're being very specific, and let them know in the submission that they are the ones that you have specifically chosen. And also be as resilient as you possibly can, and as determined as you possibly can be. Our selection process, we receive about 100 submissions a day, I would say, our agency. So we go through the submissions pile. If we really like a sample chapter, then, or the 3 sample chapters, then we will call in the rest of the book. We'll then spend the next couple of days reading that book. We'll think about how we can position it on our list, and if we think that we can position it on our list, then we need to also think about how publishing houses will position it on their list. If we decide that there really is potential there, then we will call the author in for a meeting. We'll have a really good chat with the author. We'll introduce them to the rest of the team. So we have, an in-house editor. We have, a TV and film agent. We have a foreign rights agent. They'll all meet the team. If that goes really well, then they'll sign up and they'll become a fully fledged client of the agency. And then from there, we'll go on to getting their book ready for submission. We work very, very closely. Some agencies will sign up an author and then submit them very quickly. Of course, we will do that if we think their book is ready for submission. But as I mentioned earlier, we have an in-house editor. All of our agents are also very accomplished editors, so we will work quite closely with the author. Might go through 1, 2, 3 rounds of edits, and then only when we're totally satisfied that that book is ready for submission will we then go out to UK editors and US editors as well. I've heard 2 pitches today, one of which was a sort of Vernon God-Little-esque account of someone who, a sort of young man who experiences trauma quite early on in his life, and he goes on to have various encounters with people, not many of them particularly good for him. But it's really a journey of self-discovery, I think, if that doesn't sound too much of a cliche. And then a very different book as well, which is set in the Antarctic, and really explores how the Antarctic has become a product that everyone wants a piece of. So I've only heard 2 so far, but both very different, but both show promise. it's always really interesting as an agent to come up to Manchester, especially if you're a London-based agent, to come up and see what everyone's writing, and to have a conversation with them about why they're writing on this particular subject, see what influences they have, and also not just what they're writing but what they're reading, because it's really important for writers obviously to read a huge amount as well, and also just, you know, I think agents can sometimes live in a bit of a bubble. And I think it's just great to talk to people who are at this stage of their writing career very early on, and to offer them a bit of guidance, and hopefully, you know, something might come of it in terms of the agent-author kind of relationship. I think it's the publishing industry can seem like a very exclusive and quite scary and mysterious industry, really, and I think what these events do for aspiring writers is that they show them that actually it's not as daunting as it might seem to be, and also to meet agents. It's very important when you're submitting to hand, as I was saying earlier, to hand pick your agent, and this will give them an opportunity to meet them face to face and to see whether that agent is potentially one that they want to submit to. I think also to give them a non-academic side to writing as well, which is, you know, if you want your book to be a commercial success, and I think talking to people here, most of them have that ambition to be commercially successful. If they have met agents, then they'll get that advice as to what they need to do to make it commercially viable. I would recommend that writers do take these opportunities as much as they can. I think the more people you can talk to about your book, the better. The more advice that you can get, the better. And also, if you can practice pitching your book as much as possible, and it's much harder to do it verbally than it is to sit down and write it. So if you can really practice your verbal pitching as much as possible, then when it actually comes to you submitting, it will be a sort of well-oiled kind of machine, and it will be much easier for people. I think it's very difficult if you haven't spoken to other people and you haven't received feedback from professionals and other writers as well, then your book will be more difficult to submit later on.